Hello, brothers and sisters, and God bless each of you. So happy to have a little bit of a moment to speak to you all. My name is Pastor Tommy Smith. I am the pastor of Palma Ceia Baptist Church in Hayward. And like many of you, I have been looking at the events that have been going on around our nation for the past few days in response to the death of George Floyd. Like you, I'm torn up about it. I'm outraged by it. I'm saddened by it. And I think if we had to find one word that links the characteristics of all of these expressions that we're seeing around the country, or one phrase, I would say the phrase is enough is enough. I mean, I think people are just tired. We are tired of seeing this process repeated over and over again. We've seen these killings for years, the most recent ones with Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, then followed by George Floyd. And it seems like they get with each case, they get more and more blatant, they get more and more unapologetic, and the frequency appears to be picking up. And so all of this is just a recipe for people to be tired and be frustrated and just want to see a change. And I think that one of the things that is most frustrating about this is the fact that it's occurring here in the United States of America, a nation that claims to be founded on the principles of liberty and justice. And that's what's so sad about this, is that when we really think about how this nation came about and we think about its founding documents, its ideas and its rhetoric, compared to the practice of it, it's unfortunate, but we have to admit we were founded on a lie. I mean, we were founded on some of the most beautiful words I think humans have ever spoken outside of the scriptures about the importance and the value of unalienable rights given to us by God, the importance of liberty, the importance of justice. And you know, the men who said those words, by the time they got home good from saying them, were already breaking them. Already committing sins with their slaves, and already, making it clear that these words were just a mockery. And, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to, hate on our founders, and I'm not trying to say that they were more hypocritical than most people. I think, all human beings at one time or another struggle with their behavior being consistent with their values. If they don't, then probably the values are not aimed high enough. But when we look at what happens in America, that's a different case. I mean, we have been at this for 244 years, and it seems like we've made so little progress in this in a lot of ways that it almost seems like we were never serious about it in the first place. I know it could seem that way to some, and that may be fueling some of the rage, but I think if we stop and really think about it, it's hard to say that America has not been serious about this drive to make these promises real, to make the promises of our founders real. And the reason that I say that I do think, when the dust all settles and I really think about it, I do think that this is a serious quest. And the reason that I think that is 80 years after the Union was founded, we got involved in a war over, what kind of nation we were going to be. Were we going to be a nation that continued to rely on slavery, or were we going to move past that? And it was such a heated discussion that we wound up fighting a war over it. Now, we didn't have to fight that war. We could have elected someone like Stephen Douglas, who claimed that he felt that America was a nation built by Europeans for Europeans and their progeny, and he was not in favor of granting citizenship to blacks, Indians, or any other inferior races. Those are Stephen Douglas's words. They could have voted for him, but they voted for Lincoln, who said that the words of the founders should apply to all. So again, a serious attempt was made to live out these principles. The war was won. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were passed, and Reconstruction was established. So a credible attempt was made to make this real. But what has now become a pattern in America, we took 2 steps forward and 3 steps backward. The South ended Reconstruction due to pressure. That was followed up by the Ku Klux Klan and things like that. This reign of terror that the South put together to keep blacks in their place. In 1896, they legalized separation in Plessy versus Ferguson. And so we've seen this going back and forth taking some steps toward liberty, and then making up for those steps. It's just almost as though we've just been, just bipolar about being able to make a serious commitment to this. Finally, when the civil rights movement began in about 1956, it looked like we were finally going to get there. And when it concluded in '64 and '65 with the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, I think a lot of people at that time thought, okay, wow, finally we're there. Finally America is going to start living out these promises. But if you think about it, that was 100 years after the Civil War had ended. So think about it. It took us 100 years to be serious about the legislative aspects of ending this inequality. But yet, 55 years after that, we find a black man killed by a white policeman, not in the South, but in one of our northernmost states. So you have to kind of wonder, what is the deal here? What is our degree of moral commitment to really making these promises real? And I can't understand why we aren't more concerned about making them real. They are the most beautiful promises in existence. I mean, if a nation really could do all that we say that we're about, it would be just a wonderful place to live. And it's just so saddening to me that we seem to drag our feet about that. The reason I say we're dragging our feet about it is because we have accomplished some fantastic things as a nation. I mean, we've done things that people thought simply couldn't be done. Right now, today, you can point to any spot on the globe, and America can send multi-megaton warheads there inside of an hour. We've got that kind of capability. We've got the capability to send astronauts 300 miles into space to fix a satellite or repair a telescope. We have on our shores the United Nations headquarters, where representatives from all over the world come together to speak peacefully about improving the human condition. And we're doing all of those things, but yet we can't guarantee the safety of our citizens, the very citizens, the descendants of the people who built this nation, who provided it with its foundation of wealth through their unrequited labor. We can't give them a fair break. And so I say that the time has come for us to do something about this. We've just got to stop playing with this. We've got to stop halting about this. We need to make up our mind. Just like when Kennedy put us on the pathway to get to the moon, we just need to say, look, this is how we're going to be. And I tell you what I am advocating for this, what I really think needs to happen. You know, the struggle that we've been facing over the years to acquire these rights, African Americans put their shoulders to the wheel, and they had a lot of help from others. But people paid a heavy price to make the progress that we did. Well, now we're at a place where we've secured quite a few legislative battles. We've got a lot of institutional things in place. But the battle now has to move to the realm of the human heart. Specifically, we have the dominant culture from white Americans is far too tolerant and lenient about accepting racial discrimination among their members. And this is something that this population has to handle themselves. When it was our turn to be faced by the water hoses and the dog sicks on us, we did that. But my white brothers and sisters, let me just make an appeal to you. You have to be the ones to let your friends and your family members and your co-workers know that it's not okay to put people down because of their race. You have to let them know that that joke is not okay, that it's not acceptable to talk that way around me and my children. You have to let your church members know that it's not okay to be unfairly discriminatory about people just because of their race. You have to let people know some of the context that behaviors go on, and you have to let people know that you want to see something different from your country. This is a personal thing, and everybody is called to do some work on it. We've all got work to do, but when it comes to changing the theme of white culture, and in particular, how comfortable and how accepting whites are with the behavior of others, that has to be on you. So I'm asking you, my white brothers and sisters, to look around at what has been happening. And I'm thinking, obviously these words don't apply to all, because there are many people who are right in there with us, who've been there all along. They hurt as deeply as any of us hurt when they see these kinds of things happen. But there are still quite a few people who are insensitive about it, who are either uninformed about it or just simply apathetic about it. And we can't really solve this issue until everybody gets on board and decides that this is the America that we want to live in, an America that really and truly does embrace justice, fairness, and equity for all. So, my brothers and sisters, God bless you and keep you. I believe that we are at a time in our nation where we won't go back to the normal. I think this is it. I think we have hit that tipping point. I think we are finally going to resolve this, but I think it's going to take the support of all of us to make that happen. So God bless you and keep you, and keep up the good fight. Amen.